What's up, my name's TcNo, here for Troubleshoot and welcome back to another video. In this rather long guide, I'll be showing you how you can add your own platforms to the TcNo Account Switcher. Since January 2022, the brand new 5.0 update for this open source piece of software of mine lets you add platforms to the Account Switcher with a minimal effort and of course maximum maintainability. If you don't already know what the project is, the TcNo Account Switcher, linked in the description down below, is an open source project that's pretty popular. 57,000 downloads, roughly 5,000 users every day. It gets tons of updates, and of course is open source, so it's easy to maintain, add platforms to, etc. Since version 5.0, things have got a ton easier. You can simply add your own platform to it, say the Oculus Store, Steam if it wasn't here already, etc., and you'll be able to switch between accounts with a minimal effort. Effectively, this program works by swapping out certain files and registry entries on your computer and restarting whatever platform in question, say Steam. When you restart your computer, Steam or whatever it is closes, and when you restart your computer, it'll open back up, check a certain file or folder, registry entries, etc. on your computer, and it'll boot you straight into that account. Super simple, you won't have to enter two-factor or your password or anything like that. This program works using that same idea. It'll close, say Steam, and swap out the file that keeps the last logged in username, maybe the registry entry as well, and other files and folders, etc. Then it'll restart the program, and to the program it'll look like you shut it down and rebooted your computer, asked it to start on, say, your TcNo account or your Troubleshoot account. Whatever the last saved username is, that's the account, say, Steam tries to log into. It'll check whether your PC is authenticated, and when it is, it'll log you in. Usually when you sign out of platforms, it de-authenticates your computer. This program simply steps around that. It'll leave your computer authenticated on, say, Steam, etc., so you won't need to add two-factor again, and it'll simply swap out that username, allowing you to swap accounts with super minimal effort. It's even faster than the Steam method of going into Steam Big Picture, swapping out your accounts there, and exiting out of Big Picture. You just double-click on an account, say Steam will close, reopen, and poof, you're in the other account. With enough explaining of how the program works, in the 5.0 update, those lists of files, folders, and registry entries has been made modular. You can simply edit a text file on your computer and add another platform. What about the platform icon, for example? Well, it just needs to be named the same as the platform. Beyond that, there's nothing else really to discuss. In this video, I'll be running through how I added the Oculus launcher to the Account Switcher and show you how you can add your own game platforms, or possibly not even game platforms. Something I do often is run OBS with 16:9 recordings and 21:9. Instead of going to settings and adjusting bitrate, etc., I've got it inside of my TcNo Account Switcher. It copies the entire profile folder and replaces it with another profile folder as if it were an account. It'll also close and reopen OBS in the same fashion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. First of all, you'll need the platform installed as well as an account or two, preferably two or more. Then simply fire it up. In this case, I'm going to be using Oculus over here and pretend like I haven't already added it. Simply heading across to the settings screen over here, you can see my username is Kevin1337, and that's what I used to log into this account. If I were to sign out of this and log into another account, you'd obviously see these values change. So how exactly do we go ahead and find out what files and registry entries we need to copy? Well, most of the time, especially in Electron applications and similar website/browser applications like Oculus and Discord, it's mainly file-based and doesn't touch the registry at all, which makes life a lot easier. You'll see why in just a moment, as I'll be diving into file management. Anyways, what we need to do is locate where files are being saved for this Oculus launcher. For now, I'll open up a program called Everything, which makes life a ton easier. Inside of here, you'll see all files on my computer, and I have it sorted by date modified. Not that that matters too much. Inside of Everything, I can search for anything on my computer, say Oculus, and I'll get a huge list of results here. If I sort by path and make it a bit bigger, you'll see the main files for this program. Obviously, the name of the program will be different, say Steam, Battle.net, or Blizzard. There could be other names for it, etc. This will get you most of the way without too much thought. From here already, I can see Oculus has folders in C program files Oculus. Scrolling down further, we can see some other files, including C program data Oculus, C uses TcNo App Data Local Oculus, and C uses TcNo App Data Roaming Oculus, as well as Oculus Client. These are the main folders on my computer that were added by this program. All that I'm going to do is open up these different directories in separate File Explorer windows. So first of all, the main program files folder over here, double click, and I'll push it into the top left here. Scrolling down, program data, Oculus, I'll put it down here. Then looking further down, local app data, Oculus, I'll put up here. And finally, roaming app data, Oculus, as well as roaming app data, Oculus Client. There's already a ton of folders here, and usually they aren't so many. This may look a bit confusing for now, but try and stay with me. Minimizing everything, these are all of the folders that Oculus interacts with on my computer. Of course, this could be Blizzard, Battle.net, Steam, anything like that. If I go ahead and create a folder on my desktop that I'll be working out of, I'll call it, say, temp Oculus. This is where I'll be storing different versions of these folders just so I can compare them later on. If you don't know where to start, simply look for files that don't really seem like they matter. Usually these are cache files or just logs, just things like that. So far, the program data Oculus folder over here doesn't seem like it holds anything of value. Oculus VAD APO event, don't really know what that is, but I don't think that's important. So for now, I can minimize this window or close it. We'll be working with program files, local app data, roaming, and the other roaming folder here. So let's go ahead and create some of these folders. I'll go ahead and drag the Oculus title up here using Control on my keyboard to this folder over here. That way, it'll copy the folder in its entirety. As you can see, this folder is 8 gigs and absolutely massive. I don't think there's any user account information stored in program files, as that's usually a folder that needs admin to be interacted with. So once again, the program files folder, program files 86 folder, etc. are usually things that you can look past, and if none of the other folders bear fruit, well, you'll need to return to it. So now we simplified it down to just 3 folders: local app data, roaming, and the second roaming folder over here. That makes life a lot more simple. Let's go ahead and copy the local folder, once again dragging the title of the folder from the very top, holding Control and dropping it into a folder here to copy it. I'll simply add a L to the beginning so that we can differentiate this later. So local app data Oculus. Then I'll do the same with the roaming Oculus folder and the roaming Oculus client folder. This time I'll also add an R to them just so I know where they're from. Note that you will need to remember these folder names, as we will need to recreate the same folder structure when we log into a new account. Awesome. So I'll cut these, make a new folder, and I'll call this the account that I'm currently logged into. I'll call it TcNo. Then I'll paste all of the files inside of here, and now we have a complete backup of all of the files on our computer regarding Oculus. All we have to do from here is sign out. So wherever you need to go on your platform, sign out, and okay. When you have signed out, you'll see whatever login screen it is. Sometimes you'll need to close the program itself to actually save changes, but I don't think that's necessary here. I'll make a new folder called, say, No Account, and open it up. Once again, we'll copy all of the folders across. So local, I'll add the L hyphen, then roaming and the other roaming folder. There we go. F2 for quick rename, R hyphen, and R hyphen. There we go. We now have 2 folders that contain similar looking folder structures. All we need to do now is compare them. For this, I use a program called WinMerge. You'll also find this linked in the description down below, as well as more information on the wiki page on GitHub for this project. I'll simply drag these 2 folders into WinMerge as such. Now you can see that we have both of the folders here with the same names represented here. Everything with an exclamation mark is different, and everything with a tick is the same. Left is the first folder you drag in, and right is the second usually. But you'll also see the account names at the very top here. So the right-hand side is the one that I'm currently logged into, and the left is the one with no account. So expanding the first folder here, local app data Oculus, scrolling down past all of the files that match, we have one file here, service, etc.txt, that actually differs. This looks like a log file, and I'll probably ignore this as it's not important. So because nothing else is different in the local app data folder, I'll minimize it. Now for roaming Oculus and roaming Oculus client. Immediately I can tell Oculus client over here has the same Electron/Chromium based program file structure, including blob storage, cache, GPU cache, and local storage. If you have a look at the platform's text file, which I've yet to get to, you'll see similar entries in the Discord account switcher. Anyways, Roaming app data, Oculus, the sessions folder is different. Expanding it, we have a random number sequence as well as _oaf. This seems to contain databases of some kind, so I would assume that the sessions folder here is very important, and if I log into another account, there'll be a different sequence of numbers here. Effectively, what the program will need to do is take this entire folder here, as well as all of its contents, and save it. Then switching to a fresh account, it'll delete it and fire up Oculus, for example. All of these files will then regenerate. Then when I'm switching back to an account, it'll delete the existing folder and pull in the old saved version, placing it in here. Usually whenever file names are different as such, you can expect them to be different for different accounts. So obviously you don't want account 1 and account 2 to be copied and pasted to every single account. It'll just cause a bunch of extra files and a bunch of extra headache, especially when they're randomly generated each launch, for example. What you'll want to do is save them and delete the entire folder each time so you only have one account in the sessions folder here. Don't worry about this too much, it's all handled by the TcNo Account Switcher. You'll see in just a moment. All we need to remember now is that the entire sessions folder is probably important. Scrolling down to Oculus Client, as nothing else is different there or nothing important, we have a bunch of different files here, including blob storage, which doesn't seem to have anything different, cache, which obviously is cached files and probably wouldn't be too different, but we also have GPU cache and local storage that seem to differ. These are usually the important ones for Electron or Chromium-based programs. LabelDB, the log file, usually contains some kind of cookies to keep you logged in, and the GPU cache folder over here, the data files, seem to be somewhat important, but I'm not entirely sure. Everything with F underscore in either of these cache folders for Electron or Chromium-based applications are usually pictures, videos, and things like that, as shown previously by someone's open source program where they were like, hey, you can view all of the cached images on your computer using this bit of software. Pretty scary. Well, that's because they exist here in the cache. The data files seem to be the only important ones here, as well as index. So we can simply copy this entire folder, ignoring all of these F underscore files as they're just images and things like that. We only need to care about data and index. How do we do that? Well, I'll show you in just a moment. The local storage folder over here will copy in its entirety as it's rather small, or we can simply copy all of the log files. Super simple. Other than that, nothing else is different. Effectively, all we need to do is find out what's different between an account and another account on your computer. Then all you have to do is try and copy and paste those files and folders, replacing existing ones, and poof, you should automatically be logged in, assuming you haven't clicked sign out. Super confusing, don't worry. Let's go ahead and check out the TcNo Account Switcher. I'll right-click, More, Open File Location. Because it's a shortcut, I'll rinse and repeat, right-click Open File Location, and we're inside of the TcNo Account Switcher folder. All we need to do is look for Platforms.json and open it with a text editor of your choice. For something with styling, I'd recommend Visual Studio Code. If you're someone who's used to Visual Studio, however, you can use that, of course, or any other text editor. So for now, I'll go ahead and open up the Platforms.json file. Pulling it out to make it look less confusing, here is what we're left with. Inside of the Platforms.json file, we have a bunch of text effectively telling the TcNo Account Switcher what to do. You'll find a wiki page linked down below with a ton of extra information and other switches you can use here. The absolute simplest ones to understand would probably be OBS Studio because it's a simple file or folder operation, and the Discord switcher. Epic Games has a good example of registry entries. Anyways, breaking it down, let's quickly give you a crash course in JSON. JSON is a language where you work with key value pairs. Effectively, you have a key, which is a bit of text surrounded in quotes, colon, followed by a value. This way you can look things up. I'll open up the platforms.json file, and the first key and the only key, never mind, one of the keys is platforms. Then we have platform work in progress and reference. If we say open up the platforms key, we'll have a bunch of different keys and values located inside of here. That looks something like this. These are all of the other platforms. So inside of quotes, the name of the platform, colon, followed by another object indicated by these curly braces. Then we have more key value pairs, and we have different types. We have objects, which is this open and closed curly brace over here that contain other key value pairs. Then we have arrays, which is a key, colon, followed by an open and closing brackets with different objects or text or values inside of them separated by commas. Then a simple string, which is a key, colon, and a value. Sound confusing? Well, hopefully it's not. With a simple look at it, it should be understandable. Let's go a bit deeper. The escape from Tarkov switcher over here is an object, and it contains a bunch of different keys. The identifiers is what the program will talk about escape from Tarkov as. For example, EFT, BSG, and Tarkov are all different ways that you can reference it in, say, shortcuts to the TcNo Account Switcher, and it'll open up the escape from Tarkov launcher because these are the keywords that we defined, the identifiers. These need to be unique for all of the different platforms here, so make sure they're not already taken. For me, I'll add the Oculus one over here, and we'll be rebuilding it from scratch. So, opening, closing quotes, Oculus, colon, space, followed by curly braces. This is now an object, and if it's not the last item, it should be followed with a comma. If it is the last item in an object, you don't need the comma. So, Oculus. Let's go ahead and copy an existing platform. For this, I'll be using the escape from Tarkov launcher over here. So let's go ahead and begin. The first key, identifiers. I'll copy and paste it from an existing one into here. Oculus, let's say it goes by OC and Oculus. There we go. Now if we create a shortcut with Oculus, it'll open up the Oculus Account Switcher. How does it know where the program is? Well, that's the exe location at default. I'll copy this, add a comma, new line, and paste it in. Now all we need to do is define where the program is. Inside of here, we can use environment variables. If you don't know what these are, well, instead of saying C program files 86 or whatever, you can just say percentage program files percentage. This will automatically be expanded into C : / program files as such. Of course, if someone manually moves program files to another drive, it'll automatically have the correct one here. You'll find more info in the wiki page. Anyways, program files, Oculus, support, Oculus client, and Oculus client.exe is where it's located. So if I simply open this up, I'll copy it, start and R to bring up the run dialog box, I'll paste it in here and hit enter. As you can see, we're taken across to where the Oculus client is located. Basically, I just right-clicked Oculus, more, open file location, because it's a shortcut, rinse and repeat, right-click, open file location, and poof, here we are. This is the program that's opened when we click the shortcut, so it's the one we'll be referencing here, exe location default, etc. Right, now the account switcher knows where the program is, but when we switch accounts, it needs to close the program. How does it know what processes to close? Well, that's exes to end. I'll copy and paste it in here, and I'll simply place the only one we know currently, Oculus client.exe, inside of here, inside of the array here. Then we'll need login files. This is an object that contains a list of files that we'll be working with. These are the files, folders, and registry entries that'll be swapped out when we ask the account to be switched. So what were these? So having a look at WinMerge once again, we need roaming app data, Oculus, sessions, and it's the entire folder. So percentage app data percentage, which is expanded to C users, your username, app data, roaming. We also have percentage local app data for C users, username, app data, local. Anyways, percentage app data percentage, which will take us to these two folders here, and we're looking for the Oculus folder, then sessions. So Oculus sessions as such. The right-hand side or value of these are where it's going to be saved. For this, I'll save it in a folder called app data Oculus sessions. This way, inside of my TcNo Account Switcher, if I head across to an existing platform and accounts I have saved, say Discord, you'll see the accounts here. Opening them up, we have a bunch of different folders, and these are the names that we're defining in here. So it'll copy the entire sessions folder into here. Whenever we switch an account, the existing sessions files will be deleted, and it'll copy our folder back that we previously saved. Awesome. What else is different? Well, we also have roaming app data, Oculus client, the GPU cache, and local storage folders. So let's go ahead and add those as well. Percentage app data percentage, Oculus client. For the first one, cache, we'll only be saving the index file and files that begin with data underscore. So we can use wildcards here. For single files, define the exact file. This could be .txt or .dat or no file extension, for example, and a place to put it. So I'll place this one in cache and call it index. So cache index. Once again, looking at an existing account, the cache folder contains index as well as all other files starting with data underscore. That's defined here. Data underscore star. It's a wildcard, which means every file that starts with data underscore followed by any set of characters here. It'll be copying them into a folder here, just the cache folder. Awesome. What else? Well, I previously mentioned the GPU cache folder as well. So copying and pasting that into the GPU cache folder, the index file, which will be copied into GPU cache index, and that's really about it from that folder. I don't think anything else is too important there. Now, because this is Electron, I know there's a couple of other folders that do actually mean something, even if they didn't change properly here for comparing a logged in account to one that's not logged in. These files could only be changed when I'm changing from one account to another, then you'll notice a difference. Or maybe I'm copying too many files just to make sure things work properly. If I expand the super long Discord account switches over here, you'll see the other files that I mean. To keep things simple, I'll copy in from my existing work. These other files are these ones here. Local storage, level DB, the entire folder, the cookies file, the network persistent state file, and blob storage, the entire folder. Simple enough. Now, how does the program know what files to delete when we switch accounts? Well, we define that with path list to clear, and it's an array of files, folders, registry entries, etc. Or it can simply be an array that contains one item, same as login files. This way, whenever we click new account or we try to clear an existing account, it'll delete all of the files, folders, registry entries listed under login files because it's the same as login files. If we were to define these separately, we'd have to paste one in, comma, followed by, say, a new line, paste in another one. Note that we're not keeping the colon and the value, as this is just an array of strings. To keep things simple, this is usually what you'll go with, same as login files, unless there's extra files and folders you need to clear whenever you're switching accounts, which is not going to be that often. Now, how exactly does the account switcher tell which account is currently logged in? Well, there's a couple of ways of doing this. As you can see up here with the escape from Tarkov one, it uses a unique file, the settings file, which is located in AppData, Battlestate Games, BSG Launcher, Settings. It checks through this for any email addresses and uses that as your unique identifier for that account, as this file will always contain an email address and it'll always be unique to the person who's currently logged in. Discord has something similar for your token, though that's a lot more difficult to find, etc., etc. Oftentimes, these files will be encrypted or protected, or you just won't be able to find anything human readable. Don't worry, that's exactly where the easiest part of this program comes in. It creates a simple file with a unique identifier, and that's what the program works with. For this, I'll simply be adding a new key value, unique ID file, and unique ID method. The unique ID method says create ID file. So whenever we save an account, it'll create this file over here, AppData, Oculus, TcNo Account Switcher ID.instance. If we do use this method, we'll have to mention it in login files as well, so it'll be copying and pasting this file and replacing it whenever we're switching accounts. This way, saving an account creates this file, and swapping accounts replaces this file with other accounts' files. If that sounds confusing, you save an account, its name is TcNobo. You swap to another account, that TcNobo identifier needs to be replaced with troubleshoot or whatever other account you're trying to switch to. Hence, we have it in the list of login files, and it's down here as well. If we defined everything separately in path list to clear, we'll need to include it there as well. Now, the brunt of the work is out of the way. The only other thing that you may want to add is this little one here, exit before interact true. This way, whenever we're saving an account, it'll close the program in its entirety, as well as all of the other ones we define up here under exes to end. From this point, we just have to save the file and run the account switcher. You should see it on the main menu here, otherwise manage extra platforms and make sure it's enabled. Once you've done so, it'll appear on the list. Obviously, this already has an icon on it, simply because I've already gone through the effort to create one. We'll go through that in a completely separate guide. Anyways, opening it up, if you see something like this, it's because these exes that we've defined, one of them is running as a service or running in admin mode, something higher than your current user permission. It'll automatically prompt you and restart the account switcher. This way you can open it up and you'll be dropped into the account switcher. Now, I obviously have some accounts saved here. I'll go ahead and forget these for now. If it's your first time forgetting an account, you'll get a pop-up. Don't worry. Now, because we've already defined an exe over here, you can see a shortcut icon appearing here. How did it pull this icon? Well, hitting start, it's this icon, the Oculus shortcut in our start menu folder. Super simple. We'll be referring to this later on in more detail. Anyways, clicking this starts up the Oculus app in whatever account we're logged into, or rather not logged into. Cool. If we go ahead and sign into it, I'll log in quickly now. You'll need to enter your two-factor, etc. And as you can see, I've logged into a different account here, TcNoob2. Let's go ahead and save the current account as TcNoob2. Hitting enter, it'll close Oculus and save it here. If it doesn't close it, that's because it's not running as admin or there's not enough processes being closed. If you're not closing important processes, it will silently fail and try to copy the files anyways. What do I mean by that? Well, if you open up the Account Switcher folder, which is %app.data% TcNo Account Switcher, this one here, login cache followed by our platform's name, in this case Oculus, and then the username of the account, you'll see the files inside of here. Now, most of these files and folders have copied because I'm using a more updated version of Platforms.json that we created earlier. Though yours will probably look something like, I think, this. This folder won't be created and there'll be nothing in it. Why is that? Well, simply put, there's other processes actively using these more than just Oculus client.exe. So opening up the Oculus platform, that is now closed because we had exit before interact set. When it's done booting up, we'll see what other processes are running. So Oculus, expanding it, we don't see too much, but if we head across to details at the very top, Oculus, you'll see we have Oculus Client, which is being closed properly, as well as OVR Reader, OVR Server, and OVR Service Launcher. We need to add these other EXEs into the list here. So, comma, space, and we'll add them in. Copying and pasting in the ones that I found here, Oculus Dash, OVR Read It, OVR Server, and OVR Service Launcher. Once we've added all of these, save it, close the account switcher, and reopen the account switcher. Now, when you save your account, it should copy and paste all of those folders in exactly as we had expected. If it's done so, awesome. From here, all you need to do is click Add New. The platform will be closed, and depending on what we have defined as in path list clear, those files and folders will be deleted, including registry entries, etc., and it will reopen the application. If all goes well, you should see a login screen. This means that we've successfully located and told the program which files and folders, registry entries, etc. contain the last logged in username, token, cached, whatever it is. If you're on the login screen, great. Odds are it's probably going to work. So, because we haven't clicked sign out on the TcNoob account that I was just in, my computer is still authenticated. I'm currently logged out, so I could log into another account and save that, or more importantly, in the account switcher, I'll simply switch back to the account that I had previously. Now, all of the files and folders will be copied out of my login cache folder, and we should be dropped into the main menu of whatever program we had. So, TcNoob2, technobooriginal@gmail.com. Let me quickly add a new account here to prove to you that this works. Add new, Oculus will then be closed, and when it's done starting up, it'll ask me to log in, so I'll do exactly that. I'll log in with Facebook, and when I've done so, you should see that I'm logged in. So I'll skip this, settings, and as you can see, Kevin1337. Let's go ahead and save this in my account switcher, save current, Kevin1337, add current account. It'll close the programs because we have, once again, exit before interact set, and we're done. Starting up Oculus a second last time, you should see that I'm currently still on Kevin1337 as we just logged into it. Awesome. Let's double click TcNoob, the other account, and this time when the program boots up, you should see that we're logged into our other account. So waiting for it to log in, hopefully not doing a jump cut, settings, you can see TcNoob2. Awesome. That's exactly what we were hoping for, and now we've successfully switched accounts. Congratulations, if you are following along with this, you've now successfully added your first platform to the TcNo Account Switcher. Now these do get a ton more in-depth, including simple things like cache folders, extras, cache paths. Over here we have Oculus Client Cache, every file beginning with F_, and the entire GPU cache folder here. In fact, I should add to this to only get rid of files that start with, or in fact, I should probably remove this. That isn't too important. Anyways, cache paths. What is this? Well, the extras object contains other things that are useful to the program, including cache paths. Opening up the settings here for the account switcher, scrolling down, you can see clear cache. Hovering over it shows us the folders that it's going to clear when we click this button. This is useful for clearing out those F_ files for Discord and things, which are cached images, videos, etc. The same thing that people were like, whoa, the program's saving all of these. Well, yeah, it's saving them so it doesn't have to download them to show you. Super simple. Expanding these other platforms here, I think Epic Games has some interesting things. Backup folders, yes it does. The backup folders option is right over here. If we go back, Epic Games, of course I need to locate it as I've got it located somewhere other than the default install location. Right, there we go. Select. As you can see inside of settings here at the very bottom, we have backup and restore platform. We can back up everything, which backs up all of these files and folders here, and we can restore them by dragging the 7-zip file that this backup option spits out onto here. Open backup folder, you can see a Ubisoft backup here in TcNo Account Switcher backups in my app data roaming folder. Cool. For Steam, for example, which is shown down here in the reference section because this isn't actually read at all. This is just here for reference. It backs up the entire config folder and user data folder. To make things more interesting, there's the backup file types include. If this is specified, you'll now have 2 backup buttons, that being backup and backup everything. The backup option backs up these 2 folders here, or whatever folders. Using this filter, it'll only back up these files described here. Otherwise, the backup everything option backs up these entire folders. Why is that, you may be asking? Well, these contain screenshots and other huge data files that may not be important. Usually saves, configs are the things that you want, and those are the ones defined here. Super simple. You can add to it and remove from it as you please. What other interesting things do we have? Well, backup files here for EA Desktop, you can see things are a bit different. While we do have backup folders, we have backup file types ignore. This will result in the same 2 buttons, but this time we're using an ignore list instead of an include list. So it'll copy everything but these ones here, while the other Steam platform we mentioned earlier copies everything but specific file types. Also, down here under unique ID file, you can see we're using some custom regex here. This way, it'll copy everything in a line that contains equals. So Electronic Arts, EA Desktop, telemetry.ini. Let's go ahead and open up this file. You can see it's a simple file containing a unique ID. This regex copies everything after this point. If you don't understand it, don't worry about it. It's not important. We can simply stick to the tried and true method of creating a simple file that does this for us. Origin, we have profile pic from file and profile pic regex. These are also defined on the wiki. Basically, it'll open up with this folder here, and it'll look through all of these local whatever .xml files, and because they have random names, it has a star. So it'll go through every one of these until it finds a match. What is the match? Well, it's a regex search for Windows file paths. If I open this up with a text editor, not exposing too much, you can see C users app data local origin avatars cache followed by a file. Opening it up, here's a bunch of cached avatars. It's looking for that file path there. So when we save an account, it'll reach into this file, look for a match, and if one's found, that'll be the account's profile picture in the account switcher rather than the default one. Cool. Riot Games over here is a good example for shortcut folders. If you hit start and you have the Oculus folder, for example, if inside of here, when you install games, it places all of the game shortcuts like Steam does down here. You can see the Steam shortcut, as well as all of the other games that I currently have installed have shortcuts here. If we have this set, whenever we open up the account switcher and head into the platform, of course it's somewhere else, you can see that when we open it up, we have a list of shortcuts that are in our desktop folders. Users can drag and drop to reorganize these, etc. Clicking this will obviously open whatever game or program is referenced. Obviously, this doesn't apply to everything, but every account switcher platform will have this option. Users can click plus and it'll open up a folder where they can drop in .lnk and .url files that are shortcuts to applications on your computer, the icons for which will appear here. They can click on them and open up programs, games, etc. Shortcut ignore obviously ignores any shortcut that contains this text, so it won't include its own shortcut, and shortcut include main exe is set to false. This way, in the account switcher here, you'll notice that there isn't a Riot platform button, where Discord has a Discord button, Epic Games has an Epic Games button, etc. This option here ignores that. Now, of course, I can go through thousands of these examples, going through all of the possible combinations, but of course, these are all mentioned on the Wikipedia page, such as this one here. It has some HTML that's displayed in the modal. When the copy button is clicked, it'll go ahead and copy some text, which you can then paste into, say, Discord. It'll return something, and when you paste it in, it'll let you automatically have images in it, etc., and future things to come. The hint over here is the file containing text for exactly what it does, etc. Hopefully that's a super short breakdown. Anyways, this is an incredibly long video. My voice is getting tired. Hopefully I can edit this into something more concise, but if you followed along, you've now learned how to not only add your own platform to the TcNo Account Switcher, but also a ton of extra detail that you may either use or you may never use. I haven't dived into registry files at all, but I think I'll go ahead and do another video explaining how to compare saved copies of your registry so you can further learn how to do that. A good example is Epic Games here. It checks a registry key and of course has it listed in login files over here. Anyways, I'll get more in depth in another video. Basically, it's a registry key. There's the path, there's the sub key, and it's used as the unique ID. Unique ID method, registry key, unique ID file. There it is listed here, and it's the account ID sub key. Okay, anyways, lots of detail. We're done here. As for the actual image for the account switcher, you'll find more info on the wiki down below. I'll probably get across to that in another video. This has been a crash course on adding your own platform to the TcNo Account Switcher. Hopefully you found something useful in this. It's been a very long talking head video. My name's been TcNo, here for Troubleshoot, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao.